We're counting down the 10 musicians still rotting in jail as of 2026. From headline-grabbing fraud to shocking violent crimes, these artists' stories range from short sentences to decades, or even life, behind bars. Some face notorious convictions, while others are still awaiting their fate. Who landed at the top of this infamous ranking? Let's begin with number 10. Sean Kingston, known for chart-topping hits in the late 2000s, is serving 3.5 years for a $1 million wire fraud scheme. Convicted in 2024, Kingston pleaded guilty after investigators traced a series of fake invoices and forged documents tied to high-end jewelry and luxury cars. Court records detail how he and an associate used celebrity status to convince vendors to deliver goods without payment, promising wire transfers that never arrived. The fraud unraveled when multiple victims filed police reports, leading to a federal probe and Kingston's arrest at a rented Miami mansion. The sentence, though the shortest on this list, has put his music career on hold and left his reputation in question. Kingston's case stands as a reminder that even non-violent financial crimes can carry serious consequences, especially in the public eye. Sean Diddy Combs, once a towering figure in hip-hop and business, is now serving over 4 years in federal prison for sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. Arrested in 2024, Combs was indicted under the RICO Act after investigators uncovered a network of exploitation involving multiple victims and associates. The sentencing memo details how prosecutors traced illegal operations to his companies and personal entourage, revealing a pattern of abuse masked by celebrity influence. As the news broke, major brands cut ties and streaming services removed his catalog, leaving his empire in freefall. The conviction sent shockwaves through the music industry, challenging the idea that fame can shield anyone from accountability. Combs remains incarcerated, his legacy overshadowed by legal scandal and the public fallout from a case that exposed dark realities behind the glamour. Lil Durk, a leading voice in Chicago's rap scene, was arrested in 2024 in connection with an alleged murder-for-hire plot. He has not been convicted of any crime and is currently held without bail, awaiting trial in county jail. Court documents confirm his arraignment, but no verdict has been reached, and hearings are still pending. Under U.S. law, Lil Durk is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. Unlike the other musicians on this list who are serving sentences after conviction, his legal future remains uncertain. The difference is key. Being charged and detained does not equal guilt, and his case highlights the legal principle that everyone is entitled to a fair trial. For now, Lil Durk's career and freedom are in limbo, as the justice system determines the next steps. N.W. Melly, whose real name is Jamel Demons, has been in jail since 2019 for murder charges tied to the deaths of two close friends, Christopher Thomas Jr. and Anthony Williams. The original trial ended in a mistrial in July 2023 after jurors could not reach a unanimous verdict. Prosecutors quickly announced plans to retry the case, and Melly's retrial is now scheduled for 2025. This means he will have spent at least 6 years behind bars before a final verdict is reached. The long pre-trial detention highlights just how slowly the legal process can move in complex, high-profile murder cases. Unlike many artists on this list who are serving sentences, Melly's fate is still undecided, and the presumption of innocence remains until the courts deliver a verdict. The delays and repeated trials have kept his case in the spotlight and left his future uncertain. Gary Glitter, once a staple of the glam rock era, is serving time for multiple child sexual abuse convictions. In 2025, the British Parole Board reviewed his case and denied his request for early release, citing the ongoing impact on survivors and concerns about public safety. The board's ruling means Glitter will remain behind bars until at least 2031, regardless of good behavior or age. Parole decisions in cases like this often weigh the severity of the crimes and the voices of victims, many of whom submitted statements opposing his release. For the justice system, protecting the community and honoring the experiences of those harmed carried more weight than any argument for rehabilitation. Glitter's extended incarceration stands out on this list, with a projected release date that surpasses most others, reflecting the seriousness with which authorities treat sexual offense cases. Tory Lanez is serving a 10-year sentence for the 2020 shooting of Megan Thee Stallion. In August 2023, a Los Angeles judge handed down the decade-long term after a highly publicized trial and weeks of testimony. Prosecutors argued Lanez fired a gun at Megan Thee Stallion's feet during a late-night argument, causing injuries that required surgery. The court heard from both artists, with Megan delivering a powerful victim impact statement describing the lasting pain and public scrutiny she faced. Lanez's legal team promised to appeal, but the sentence stands as one of the longest fixed terms for a violent crime on this list. The verdict drew widespread attention, raising questions about violence in the music industry and the role of celebrity in the courtroom. Lanez remains incarcerated, his music career halted by the lengthy prison term. Casanova, born Caswell Sr., is serving 188 months in federal prison, a sentence handed down in June 2023 for racketeering and narcotics offenses. Prosecutors described him as a leader within the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation Bloods, linking him to a sprawling criminal enterprise that trafficked drugs and orchestrated violent acts across New York. The indictment detailed how Casanova used his influence in both music and the streets to further the gang's operations, with wiretapped calls and social media posts cited as evidence of his role. The judge's sentencing memo pointed to aggravating factors, including the impact on local communities and the persistent nature of the gang's activities. At over 15 years, Casanova's prison term stands out among other celebrity convictions, reflecting the severe penalties tied to RICO cases and the added weight of being labeled an organizer rather than just a participant. R. Kelly is serving a 30-year federal sentence for sex trafficking and child abuse, making his incarceration one of the longest fixed terms for any musician in recent history. In June 2022, a federal judge sentenced Kelly after juries in New York and Illinois found him guilty of racketeering, sexual exploitation of minors, and violating the Mann Act. The court also ordered him to pay restitution to survivors, underscoring the scale and impact of his crimes. In 2025, a federal appeals court upheld his convictions, closing the door on his last major chance for early release. Survivor advocacy played a visible role throughout the proceedings, with multiple victim impact statements entered into the official record. Kelly's case stands as a stark example of the consequences faced by public figures who abuse their power and the legal system's willingness to impose severe penalties when the evidence is overwhelming. Tay K, born Tamor McIntyre, received a 55-year prison sentence in 2019 for murder and aggravated robbery tied to a deadly home invasion in 2016. At just 16 years old, Tay K joined a group that broke into a Texas house, leading to the death of 21-year-old Ethan Walker. Prosecutors presented messages and social media posts as evidence, showing how the crime was planned and carried out. The jury found him guilty on all counts, and the judge handed down a fixed term, one of the longest on record for a musician his age. Tay K's legal team appealed, but the conviction and sentence remain in place as of 2026. His case stands out for the sheer length of the sentence, effectively ending his career before it had a chance to fully take off. The story of Tay K fuels ongoing debate about how the justice system treats violent crimes committed by teenagers. C. Murder, born Corey Miller, is serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole for the 2002 murder of 16-year-old Steve Thomas. Convicted in 2009 after a trial in Louisiana, Miller's case has been surrounded by controversy, with supporters claiming new evidence and recanted witness statements. Despite years of appeals and high-profile campaigns for his release, the federal courts upheld his conviction in 2023, ending his last major legal challenge. The sentence means Miller will spend the rest of his life behind bars, with no chance for parole or early release. For the family of Steve Thomas, the court's final decision brought closure to a case that has lingered for over 2 decades. Among musicians behind bars in 2026, C. Murder's life term stands as the most severe, underscoring the ultimate consequence when a murder conviction is made final by the courts. From Sean Kingston's short 3.5-year wire fraud sentence to C. Murder's life term for murder, this countdown reveals the stark realities facing 10 musicians still locked behind bars in 2026. The list exposes a clear pattern. Fame offers no immunity, with sentences spanning from non-violent financial crimes to decades-long punishments for violence, sex trafficking, and organized crime. High-profile cases like R. Kelly's 30-year federal sentence and Take's 55-year term for murder underline just how severe the legal consequences can be, regardless of chart success. Several entries, like Lil Durk and YNW Melly, highlight the uncertainty of prolonged pretrial detention, while others, such as Gary Glitter and Casanova, show how parole denials and federal RICO laws can extend time served. Every entry qualified by being officially incarcerated or detained as of 2026, reflecting only confirmed legal outcomes. Ultimately, these cases demonstrate that in the world of music, criminal justice is harsh and unflinching, casting a long shadow even over the industry's biggest names.